As much as we try as collectors to appreciate and enjoy what we have, it's hard not to want more. We scratch one itch and another one develops, and so we are always looking forward to the next acquisition. The new year is always an exciting time to reflect and reminisce and make resolutions for the future, and of course to decide which shiny trinkets we want to spend our hard-earned money on next. I'm pretty content with what I already have, but that hasn't stopped me picking out 5 watches which could easily make their way into my collection in the future. Of course, I reserve the right to change my mind at any time, so take it all with a pinch of salt. It's just a bit of fun. Let me know in the comments what you think and what your collecting goals are for next year. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing, it really helps. I do not own what can be considered a real dive watch, and the Vostok Amphibia has a legendary reputation as a tough as nails diver. There are a huge amount of variants, but my favourite is the classic Scuba Dude. The bezel and dial are unique, which is a rarity when it comes to dive watches, with so many Submariner clones on the market. Some will say that the bracelet is cheap and nasty, but for less than £100, I won't grumble. Unfortunately, the terrible war in the Ukraine has made them harder to get hold of due to sanctions, etc., and I have missed out a few times on eBay. I'm still patiently waiting for the right one to pop up. It's a badass watch, and I don't care if it's cheap. If it looks good, I'll wear it. In my full watch collection video, I mentioned that I would consider selling my Accurist Retro Racer as it doesn't get much wrist time, but only if I can find a replacement chronograph I really like. I'm a sucker for early 20th century style designs, but as I am poor, I have to settle for something like a Dan Henry 1937 dress chronograph with the onyx dial. I'm a fan of Dan Henry's work, but the hassle of importing has put me off up until now. Alternatively, I would also consider the Seagull 1963 with the acrylic crystal and sapphire caseback. I know it's very popular and a bit of a cliche at this point, but I can't deny it's a damn cool looking watch. It can be hard to find smaller chronograph watches, but at 38mm, both of these watches are just right for me. I'm generally not a fan of Flieger style watches. It is a very specific style with little room for variation, but the Laco Aachen 39 Olive really stands out to me with its PVD bronze coloured case and olive green dial. At 39mm, it's quite small for a Flieger style watch, which were originally larger and designed to be worn over flight jackets in dark and dingy cockpits. I would normally bemoan a case size that isn't true to its vintage heritage, but in modern day life 39mm is ideal. I understand that some enthusiasts will take issue with the artificial aging of the PVD case, but I think it suits the watch, and Laco has real history as a manufacturer of pilot's watches, as one of the only 5 watchmakers to produce watches for the Luftwaffe. The watch is limited to just 250 copies, with an RRP of £390, which is a bit pricey considering the cheap Miyota 821A movement used, but as it is limited, I haven't been able to locate one anyway. It may never happen, but I live in hope, as I'm yet to find a similar watch that I like as much. I previously owned a gold tone Seiko 5, and it was cheap and nasty, so my experience with Seiko so far has been less than impressive. But the dial on this Seiko Presage Cocktail Time Matcha SPRF 41J1 is absolutely majestic. I'm not a fan of the stock leather strap, it's a bit drab, but I've seen people swap the strap for a green crocodile leather strap and it makes an awesome combination. The RRP was £420, which like the Laco is a bit overpriced considering the movement used. You can find the 4R35 movement in watches that cost less than half the price of this one. It is also more expensive than other Presage cocktail time watches on the account of it being a limited edition. But I just can't resist that dial. It is sold out everywhere though, so again, patience is a virtue. Although there are scalpers trying to get twice retail for these on places like Chrono24, I have seen them go for around £400 on eBay. It's the same story with the Alpinist Ginza SPB 259J1, which I like too. I just don't think they are worth £1,000 or more. This one is a late addition to my list. For a while I thought if I was going to get any Rolex, I would go for the Explorer 36mm as one of the more affordable and attainable Rolexes. But a few weeks back I came across this, the Air King 14010. There are a few variants, but my favourite is this one with the pink dial and engine turned bezel. It is similar to the Explorer with Arabic numerals at the 3, 6 and 9, but it is slightly smaller at 34mm, and the engine turned bezel adds a really cool element. If the Explorer 36mm could be accused of being a bit boring, this is not an accusation that could be levelled at the Air King 14010. If I do get a Rolex, I want something a little bit more unique. The only difficulty is I know next to nothing about Rolex and vintage watches, but if I can find the right one, I will seriously consider it. So there we have it. Let me know in the comments if you think they are good choices, or if you think I'm a moron. I kept my list to 5 watches for brevity, but there are a few watches that may have made my top 5 in an alternate universe. I'll pop some pictures up on the screen now. Sometimes as a watch collector, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I already own 15 watches and yet I see cool new watches every day and I want them. I suppose I should be grateful that I have time to worry about such trivial things. The one saving grace is that I'm yet to get the vintage watch bug, because that is a massive rabbit hole to go down. It probably will happen at some point, but right now I just don't have the knowledge or expertise to avoid the pitfalls. There are a couple of watches I will be looking to move on, but I don't have an arbitrary limit. I honestly don't think you can own too many watches. As long as you're wearing them and enjoying them, rotating them and storing them correctly, then more just means more options and extra longevity. I think that's about it really. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.